decided to say something, to do something. So we are going to do something.
So whenever people are talking about empowering the youth, getting the youth on board, getting the youth involved, I just look at it as we have a story.
Of Nigerian youth on security and safety affairs, knowing well that the job of security is for everybody, and Nigerian youth cannot, should not, and will never be left behind in this, because we need this more than every other Nigerian. Thank you so much. The summit is loaded. Nigerian youth is adequately represented here and respected even by the politicians. You know, in most cases they don't have our time. But now we are discussing very important issue, and they consider it very important as well. And I'm sure to the politicians, it should be their number one in their manifesto. So they are here. Give them a round of applause. So once again, you are welcome, ladies and gentlemen, especially on the high table, the gubernatorial candidates, the deputy governor candidates, even the presidential candidates. You are very welcome. We are proud of your presence here. Moving forward, we be to invite the DJ of Conyssa to welcome each and every one of us. However, it is very important to acknowledge the fact that if you have not been adequately introduced, or perhaps you don't like your introduction, just know that this is Nigeria youth. Yes, we are men and women of quality. So everything we do is the quality. So just be rest assured that what you are getting from us is the best you can get anywhere across the globe. Particularly, I was not happy when somebody introduced the representative of Engineer Rabi Musa Kwankwaso as representative of Alhaji Musa Kwankwaso. No. So please accept our apology, the representatives. We understand the necessity to be Engineer Rabi Musa Kwankwaso. He loves Nigeria youth, and we know that. So please, you are welcome. The director of Army Resource Center. Those days we used to see army generals as the people that when we hear their name, we should just take the other route and run away. But obviously, it is not in your case. You love Nigerian youth, and you have been partnering with us in all of our programs. So, General, we are happy to see you in our midst. Youth, build the nation. Build the youth. Build the nation.
I want to sincerely welcome our fathers, our uncles, our dear mother in this great event that is going to bet a strong turnaround for our own dear country. Before I proceed in this brief welcome speech, I want to appreciate the Board of Trustees of Conyssa, Ambassador Professor Distin Akko, the founder and Commandant General of Peace Corps of Nigeria, who has so much done well for the Nigerian youth, who has so much believed in our potentials and skills, and felt no youth should go unattended to. The child Conyssa today that is growing and becoming a voice of rescue was at the verge of dying when we ran to him. And today, Many of us seated here, either directly or indirectly, Conyssa has responded to our calls, either when we are unlawfully arrested, either when we are extorted by the Nigerian police. We've come to your rescue and we've retrieved, in the past 8 months, more than 30 million naira from different officers in this country who has extorted Nigerian youth. Just about 3 days ago, it was posted in the National Security Platform that an IPO was requested for 500,000 naira from somebody who was unjustly arrested and detained. I took it up immediately. The following morning, the young man was released without a dime being paid. That is the cause that Conyssa is fighting. Recruitments have been done in this country. The critical stakeholders, who knows, the real youth who could do well in protecting this country holistically, are not being carried along and are not being involved in policy and decision making. We felt that there is need for the youth to be involved in the decisions and policy that have to do with the security and protection of their lives and the lives of the yet unborn generation, to be involved and carry out their diligent duties as volunteers and as citizens who want this country to be a country that will be admired and be desired and be envied by other counterpart countries across the globe. I want to say here that the extent we have gone today, we wouldn't have gone if not for the support of our dear own patron, Dr. Oluni Adebaniji, who has always supported us financially whenever we call on him. He is not a politician. He has never practiced politics. I was introduced to him and he keyed to this vision. Ambassador W.O. Amogoye, the Miller Farm Nigeria Limited, has not been left behind. He has supported this organization and supported this program for it to come to pass when all politician doors were locked against us. Today, I want to appreciate all our leaders that are seated. I've been talking with Dr. Nicholas Felix, the youngest presidential candidate of the APC last presidential election. We've been on talk. He returned back to country yesterday just because of this program. We've been talking for the past 1 year, trying to see how youth can be brought together to actually think inward what we could do to be part of the solution to the insecurity that has ravaged, that has actually eaten up our dear country to the extent that myself and you can no more travel on our highways, on our train, and even in the airport. Sometimes ago, we heard that bandits stormed the airport in Kaduna. We don't know one day if they will actually do same in Abuja. But it is not left for me and you to sit up and see what we could do from our own end to make sure that this country that is ours and ours alone should be protected. And we should do all we could from our end to make sure that Nigeria of our pride is achieved. On this note, I want to appreciate our invited guest, Dr. Lucky, Madam Aisha, Khadija. We just spoke once and I greeted her and I invited her for this program through the Queen of the North, that's the face of Conyssa, and she promised to be here, and she was among the first person to be in this program and the only woman sitting at the high table. Thank you so much for coming. The representative of engineer Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwakwaso. I want to appreciate his person. To be candid, all effort to reach out to him on phone was abortive. In fact, I lost confidence of him even sending a representative. That is to show the kind of leader he is, that he holds Nigerian youth at heart, and we sincerely appreciate it. I want to appreciate the former Nigerian Army PRO. He has been doing wonderfully well. I followed him on Facebook, bomber to bomber, when he was the PRO and after he retired, and until today, anywhere you invite him, he is there. This is a young man. I don't see him as an old man. I see him as a young man. He still has that egalitarian spirit to still go to the war front, to make sure Nigeria is protected. We appreciate you and we'll keep appreciating you. I followed you. No youth program that you have ever been invited that you've never attended. And that is to show the interest you have in the Nigerian youth. We appreciate you. We appreciate all our leaders. Dr. Felix from the University of Nasarawa, he's here. And Ambassador Peacemaker, and many others. I call him Farotimi, and all the stakeholders of the Youth Council that are here, who has actually key to this vision that Nigerian youth must have a committee that will speak on behalf of Nigerian youth on security matters. We must get involved, and the government must get us involved. No security conference that the security agencies will hold in this country, Nigerian youth must be invited. Nigerian youth must have a say. We must contribute our quota to see that we play our role in the protection of our dear own country called Nigeria. Once again, I welcome all of us to this great event, and I wish us a happy stay. Thank you, and God bless you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am Brigadier General Sanu Usman Kukashika, retired MNI, and I am the consultant and director, corporate affairs and information services of this center. I left the Army 3 years ago, and my last appointment was Director of Army Public Relations. Now, the keynote speaker, Major General Garba Ayedeji, will have retired. Would have loved to be with you, but 2 days ago he was briefed, and he's still in the state of mourning. Just this morning, I was called to represent him, and in so doing, I would like to welcome each and every one of you to this auspicious occasion, and also commend the organizers for deeming it fit and wise to have such a conference of critical stakeholders in this our great nation, talking about the Nigerian youth, who constitute critical component for our national development, the neglect of whom had made us to be paying dearly. Now, this year conference, which has the theme Intelligence Gathering for Effective Policing, the role of youth in crime prevention, for sustainable peace, good governance, and national development. And I think you should also add crime detection. Because sincerely speaking, with due respect to the youth of this country, most of the security challenges that we're experiencing, I think it is the neglect of that critical component, not knowing that security is a collective responsibility, that each and every one of us has a critical role to play. And youth, that constitute the largest part of the Nigerian population. As a matter of fact, the last time I checked, the youth constitute, I think, 72% of the total population of this country. So you can imagine, in a population of, let's say, 200 million, and 72% of that number are youth. And sincerely speaking, it is the neglect of that 72% that brought us into the quagmire we are in now. Because 52% of that number is not gainfully employed. Now, when you look at it, I had cause some time ago to also deliver a paper, risk assessment towards the 2023 general election. And one important component that we tend to neglect is the youth both in this country. And with due respect to the youth, most of the security challenges in this country, which you all know, to a large extent, in most instances, all the leadership, hardly you meet somebody who is more than 40 years old. How did we come about that? I'm not even talking about some misguided element being ready-made to unscrupulous elements in the Nigerian society. With due respect, Your Excellency, sir, I'm not, being pejorative to the politicians, but sincerely speaking, bulk of the political, violence in this country is perpetrated by youth. Why do you allow yourself to be, ready-made too, when the future belongs to you and this country belongs to you? And if you look at most of the developed countries that tend to have youthful leadership, they tend to be far more progressive than the ones that are having, older generation leading them. So beyond the negative aspect we have talked, the youth constitutes the greatest potential for national development. All you need to do is to understand that fact and empower the youth, and believe me, sincerely speaking, all the problems that we are experiencing in this country might be a thing of the past, and you will add little or nothing to make Nigeria greater than it is. So beyond allowing yourself to be ready-made to, you have potentials, and it is that potential I'm so happy the coalition of Nigerian youth in security and safety affairs has recognized this fact by putting you under one umbrella and now bringing you together. And I'm so sure from the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, in the recent past I can't remember whether such thing has ever taken place. So I thank you very much, DG, and all those that have hand in this, organization, or rather holding of this conference. I was making reference to the security challenges, which every one of us is quite aware. And in fact, when the DG stood off here, he was talking about the security situation. In fact, it is so difficult now that if you say you are going to Kaduna, you have to say a little prayer. Honestly. And even if at that, we have turned into military, we have reported lines. For those going to Kano, by the time from Abuja you reach Kaduna, you call home, I have passed Kaduna. Zaria to Kano is okay. It is that bad. And some of the security challenges, like I said, we have terrorism, insurgency, banditry, militancy, hardest farmers clashes, kidnapping, secessionist agitation, armed robbery, cyber crimes, and of course, basically all the crimes to a large extent, including the proliferation of small and light weapons, have become transnational. Same thing with fake news and hate speeches, because in fact, including deepfake, they are beyond the shores of this federation. But almost all the components of Nigerian society are involved in this kind of thing. And this has become a critical challenge to each and every one of you here. Why? Because you are the future. I cannot imagine where the minority will oppress the majority. More so now we are having democracy in this country for the past 22 years. And they always say the minority will have their say, then the majority will what? Have their way. So why wouldn't the youth have their way? Why? You are the largest population, and I'm so happy that you have come out with a template. You wanted to move this country forward non-violently. And that is very key and essential. There are better and more important ways of making impact in the society without being violent, without being abusive, without trampling on people's rights and privileges. Because all of us here are experiencing the same problem. The same problem. If you go to Yenagoa, it's the same thing with what the man in Birnin Kebbi is experiencing. Poverty, trouble, deprivation. They don't respect the boundaries of ethnicity or religion. And that is why you don't discriminate when you go to the market or when you want to have services. Take for instance, if you are flying, you don't ask of the religion of the pilot. Neither do you ask of the religion of the driver when you are going on commercial. Neither do you ask of the religion of the doctor before he treats you. So why the hue and cry about these extraneous variables that tend to draw us backward? Because inherently, Nigerians, they are good people. The DG was trying to infer that I am a youth, but I beg to disagree because I'm a very old man, in the sense that I have, if I continue to claim to be a youth, I wonder when will my children, the eldest of whom is 31 years old, grow up. So basically that is it. And why I'm saying all these things is because when I was younger, I think 17, 18, for 9 years, every Christmas, I'm a Muslim. My parents are Muslim, but I must travel to Enugu to do Christmas there. Simply because I have friends. And till date will sustain that relationship. But ask yourself, those of you that are 30 or thereabout, how many of you can boast of friends in at least 10 states of this federation? And I know that you have been to university, I know that you have been to National Youth Service. You cannot move this country forward if you don't build relationship among the components of the Nigerian society. And the uniting factor is our humanity. We are all the same. So we expect you to play greater role by being patriotic. Of course, you will say, how could you be patriotic? To a large extent, and this is where those of you that are from the government, road safety, the Nigerian Police Force, do we have a representation from the National Orientation Agency or the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture here? DG, do we? Ministry of Information and Culture or National Orientation Agency? Well, you see, that's where the problems come from. Now, the issue of patriotism, building resilience, awareness and security education, the government takes the lead. And that's why an event of this nature, the government should be fully represented, because there are issues that really, that they have to either provide answers to or will re-emphasize that role. Now, who teaches patriotism? Who creates awareness or gives security education? There is a limit to which the family could do anything. The educational system will build upon what the family has done or the parents have done. So we call on the government to please emphasize on civic education, creating more security awareness, build national resilience, because if there is no resilience, there is no way you can deal with security challenges in this country. We should not be divided when some of these issues that are threatening the very corporate existence of this country are disturbing us. So, but at your level, you have so much to do. By being that good son, good daughter, good citizen, good parent, good student, and a well-respected human being. With that, the society will trust you with so much responsibility and so much opportunity so that you can actively participate in national development. And I believe this is not too young to run. Your Excellency, the presidential candidate, I believe you are also beneficiary of it, right? Even though they give with the right hand, they take with the left hand, because you know some of the political parties, the indication of interest form costs as much as your life earning. Which youth can afford 100 million naira? Unless if he's involved in criminality, with due respect, or he's inherited wealth, or somebody must have given him the money. In that case, just like I believe everything in life has a price tag. If you think they will give you that money free of charge, you are making the greatest mistake of your life. So, please endeavor to take active part in national development by taking active part in coalition of this nature and so many other organizations that are well-meaning, that are interested in national unity and development, and continue to promote national unity through friendship, dialogue, and so on. Why? Because you cannot develop a nation if you don't listen to each other. Each and every one of us seated here, and I know the capacity of this place is about 200 plus. By the time a problem is given, possibly the perspective will be in solving that problem could be more than 50 or 70 or even 200. But somehow we aggregate, we take the very best and listen to spiritual arguments so that we can move the nation forward. And you cannot do that if you are not tolerant, if you don't respect each other. Respect is key. We are differently blessed. So much as it is that I'm standing on behalf of the DG, people will look at me, but somehow I am also looking at you because you have something that I don't have that you could assist me with. It might not necessarily be, material things. For those of us that are family people, sometimes your children will tell you, Daddy, don't do that. And new vocabularies come, new ways of doing things come. So you have to listen. Talk less of a fellow that you grow up together, you have a common experience. So, in conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you most sincerely for the opportunity to stand before you to talk to you as keynote speaker. I wish we have had time, would have prepared more, but I believe with these few words, we are able to ginger you and set your mind towards this very, workshop or rather conference, which has the theme of intelligent gathering. ineffective policing. And in any case, let me tell you, it is the neglect of our policing system that brought us to this sorry state of affairs in this country. I've had the privilege of traveling to at least over 30 other countries in this world, and I've realized there is no single country without a policing system. But I've visited countries, as a matter of fact, the country I did my master's degree doesn't have armed forces, and they are living in peace. So if we are going to develop further, we must critically evaluate our policing system, and intelligence gathering is key. I had the privilege of going to the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies for 1 year senior executive course, and the theme of our course was interrogating internal security framework of Nigeria, community policing, policy options, and implementation strategy. We visited 12 states of the Federation, and we visited 6 African countries, and we visited 6 other countries outside the continent of Africa. We interrogated their policing system, and we made recommendations. And that was the renewed, you saw the renewed wave to bring back community policing system in this country in November 2018. But typically, all motions, no movement. And unless we go back, and the youth have critical role to play. Why? Because those of us that came from the northwestern part of the country and north central, we know the obnoxious role of informants to these bandits and kidnappers. Yes, you might not blame them, because we neglected one key component of the Nigerian society, which is the third tier of government, the local government system, which only exists in issuing indigent form for people who like to apply for police and armed forces job. And unless we go back, because they act as buffer, because each of these security challenges can be nipped at local level, because the forest belongs to a particular state to a particular local government to a particular district and ward. But they are not working. Every problem, state capital Abuja. And that is why the government has an important role to play by giving the necessary leadership and resources. Because it is not enough to tell people they should do X, Y, Z. You must empower them. It is not necessarily material empowerment. To what extent have you educated the people? To what extent have you provided an enabling environment for people to aspire to be whatever they want to be in this country legitimately? To what extent are the employment opportunities? And so on and so forth. But there is always light, a bright shining light at the end of the tunnel, and I think we are surmounting it, and we cannot do so without you putting your heads together and solving that you will contribute your quota to ensure that you will have the government and the security forces in terms of intelligence gathering, in terms of detecting and preventing crimes, by even simply advising your colleagues. Because the problem of substance abuse is also a serious problem. And who are those involved? The same youth, even though our age grade also are involved. But sincerely speaking, the onus is on you, and we have confidence in your capacity to make a resolve to, save this country by being good citizens, by showing the light, by taking advantage of the opportunities to make our society better.
Time comes in the life of a nation that the youth of that nation take over the responsibility of standing guard at the gate, at the entrance of that nation. And that time has come for Nigeria as a nation. I'll try as much as possible to be as brief as possible. Maybe in the next 2 or 3 minutes, I'll be out of here. I want to be intentional about that, because the very few things I intend to say here, I hope that they sink. If it is 1 or 2 sentences you can get from here, from me, I want it to sink. I want you to take it home and run with it. I don't want my speech to be clouded by many rhetorics and things that we have heard in the past. I don't want the kind of speech that will be beautiful to the ears, but cannot be applied in our day-to-day life. I want something that I'm going to say today that you write on your left palm, fold it, and whenever you need it, you open and take a peep, and it will guide you on how to live as a young person in this nation, Nigeria. In the past, we have had great people, led great nations out of terrible situations like we are in this country, Nigeria, today. They moved as young people. History has it that in Nigeria, some time ago, maybe in the 80s, we had people like the Tafawa Balewas and the Nnamdi Azikiwe and the Awolowos. They were young people. They stood up against the colonial masters, and they stood well and turned this nation around. In the West, we had the Cocoa House. We had free education. In the North, where I happened to be born, I also enjoy part of the proceeds of the Granite Pyramid in Kano. And so on, you can number that to number but a few. And beyond the shores of Nigeria also, you have places like in Singapore, in China. In Singapore, for instance, in the 80s, some young people came together and said, we cannot continue this way. We have to move this nation forward. And people like Lee Kuan Yew came up and stood guard at the nation's gate and turned the economy of that nation around. And today we have the Singapore we have. And when it was time to step aside, it did step aside for continuity, knowing that his health, the requirement of leadership. Leadership requires much more, so much that an old feeble man cannot. Not even a nation as diverse as Nigeria. You need somebody who is astute, who is intelligent, who also have the physical strength that is required to lead a nation. And people like Lee Kuan Yew stepped aside. And I'll take on the other side another example of Zimbabwe. Mugabe also, a young man, stood for that nation. Brought about wonderful development and turnarounds for that nation. But he never knew when the time to leave came. And he stayed put. He stayed there until, of course, occasion moved him out. And the nation is suffering for that. Because we don't want Nigeria's story to be like that of the terrible nations. That's why the youth have decided to say something, to do something. So we are going to do something. And I'm going to tell you what I think we should do shortly. You see, this occasion may not be the perfect occasion. As a matter of fact, if the DG had called me to Abuja, if you know how busy I am, he will not even call me to Abuja, because I don't leave my organization for nothing. Because what I have been called to do, I do it diligently, and that is farming. I'm a farmer, end to end, and I don't leave. Thank you. Clap if you want to. We have a farm close by. I happen to school in Niger, Futmina. Briefly, we have a farm in Salga village, we have a farm in Coventine, and we have another farm in Kwara, and so on. We have farms, but beyond that, we process what we farm. We add value. We do things with them, we sell, and that calls for serious work. It's serious work. It's no joke. If as little as farming takes serious work, takes all of my time, takes my energy as a young man, how much more leading a nation? Please, it is no joke. So now the time is here for you and me as a nation, as a people, as the young men of this nation, to take over like the days of the Tafawa Balewa. It is calling on us like the days of Zik, like the days of Awolowo. The time is now again. It's calling on us to take responsibility. I am not saying we should go and wrestle power with these people. Yes, we can through our ballot boxes. But I tell you, the easiest way is to start by being patriotic. As a people, you must be a patriotic citizen before you can eat the good of this land. And as young people, bringing it down to security because of my time. If you are not patriotic as a young person, you'll be part of, instead of building the nation, you'll be part of destroying the nation. Because the energy is there to achieve that thing that you have desired to do. So it is time to be able, from this kind of forum, to be able to imbibe or teach the culture of patriotism, irrespective of where you are from in this nation. And the second thing I'm going to talk about is productivity. As a person, as a youth, if you are patriotic and you are not productive, you cannot add value to the nation. And if you cannot add value to this nation, you cannot be part of solving the security challenge that is facing this nation. So you have to be productive, you have to be patriotic. Of the 5 pillars of economic development, where security is takes a pivotal stage, there you have patriotism and you have productivity. Time will not allow me to expatiate too long on that. But like I said earlier, like I started, I said, I want to use this platform to send a message. I'll give it in code, and that code is to tell you to be patriotic and to be productive. And I tell you, this nation will be secured for that. I'll give you this small story before I get down. In one of our companies, we were able to systematically launch the factory in the midst of a community where I happen to be the chief security officer in that community. And every week we had issues. We had burglary, we have theft, we have everything. I record them. It comes to my desk. And somehow, I just felt this culture of productivity and patriotism, if we bring it, productivity, if we bring it to the community, and we set up a factory, one of our manufacturing line in that community. That factory managed to hire over 400 young people from that community. And I tell you, till I came down as the CSO of that community, I did not record any one more crime in that community that has to do with young people. So you can see that the direct link of productivity and security, they go hand in hand, because it is the idle man that the devil uses as his workshop. So go on as a young person in your immediate environment. After being productive, patriotic, be productive, add value, and take people off the street and and see how the nation will be better for it. I'd like to leave you with this one thing, that Nigeria will be great again.
Dear President and absent, my generals here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to stand on existing protocol. The title of my paper is Intelligence Gathering for Effective Policing in Nigeria from the Youth's Perspectives. I want to apologize and take responsibility because of some minor errors that I observed, which is not really part of me because of the hasty nature of this paper. But I promise to send, after today, the soft copy to the organizers of this program for others to access. My paper begins on page 1 with a protocol and it's a welcome address. So I don't need to waste our time any longer. We have already greeted. The paper has an abstract and I want to read the abstract. I said the paper examines the relationship between collaborative intelligence gathering with particular attention on youths' involvement and effective policing in Nigeria. The data was obtained mainly from secondary sources such as the police, the correctional centers, official records, newspapers, media reports, published studies, and applied the epistemic community theory of international relations. The content of the document were properly examined for analysis. The paper identified poor intelligence gathering and utilization capabilities and poor collaboration amongst the key stakeholders of the Nigeria security subsectors that are particularly deficit of youth involvement as a major cog in the wheel of effective policing. The paper recommends, among others, the need for training the youth of various communities on intelligence gathering and electronic security technology in soft and hardware, and law enforcement agencies' cooperation with the youths in intelligence gathering for effective policing and achievement of a safe and a minimally crime-free Nigeria. You see the keywords there: intelligence gathering, crime prevention, which our Brigadier General just talked about some minutes ago, and then we have the police, and I also have youth policing. I'm using policing here as a verb, not to separate it from that of the police force. The protection of our territorial integrity and property, lives of members against attacks, threats, and criminal activities is a functional prerequisite for both primitive and modern societies. In fact, those of us that were privileged to study history in school were taught about the Benin Empire, the Oyo Empire, how they secure their territories using primitive methods. And that primitive method today has been developed into more technologically advanced protection. The pivotal role of security explains why nations of the world from the earliest time past have established and funded several institutions, groups, organizations, both at the state and non-state, have directly and latently involved in law enforcement and justice provision. Although Nigerian law enforcement agencies have achieved some successes in countering criminals and insecurity, the achievements are largely disproportionate to the huge annual monetary vote to the security subsector in recent times. For example, against the backdrop of election campaign promises to address criminality and security headlong, budgetary votes for security by this administration have progressively increased annually. You see the figures there, 1.04 trillion for 2016, 2017 it has increased, 2018 it has increased, even down to 2019 it has increased, and even in 2020 and in 2021 respectively. And you see this addition of approval of, even the approval of 74 billion police trust fund and 802 billion supplementary appropriation fund for law enforcement organizations in 2021. Also in 2022, about 15% of the total annual budget was directed to security. Notwithstanding, the above statistics is spirited efforts of law enforcement agencies. Violent crimes and insecurity persisted, and their negative effects on life, property, economic development, and national security are very, very colossal. Today, in Southeast geopolitical zone, we have ascendancy of ritual-driven assassination, hostages taken, breakaway protests, businesses-related offenses, and agrarian conflict between nomadic herdsmen and sedimentary farmers. The South-South occupies the center stage in youth aggression, cultism, oil theft, bunkering, illegal oil refining, and kidnapping. If you go also to the Southwest, the Southwest takes the lead in internet fraud, domestic violence, rape, metaphysically induced killing, and agrarian crimes, while the entire northern zones, including federal capital Abuja, are seriously bedeviled by religious insurgency, ethnic genocide, illegal minerals prospecting, and animal rustling. The aforementioned situations call for evaluation of the current detective and preventive mechanism of the Nigerian police, being the foremost law enforcement agency, and with particular reference to intelligence gathering and utilization capabilities which have been identified by criminologists, security experts, and other security stakeholders as a major cog in the wheel of achieving a secured and minimal crime society. Hence, the widespread nature and sophistication in the techniques of perpetrators of crime call for proactive method of policing, and thus the need for intelligence gathering and use to be ahead of criminals. As the foundation upon which crime prevention, control, and management revolves, intelligence gathering must not only be part of the thinking process of security officers, but must be gotten right. Getting it right requires the intelligence gathering. It requires that intelligence gathering should be collaborative, and that is why we are talking about the youth collaboration. And the youth, as we're earlier told, where they occupy the greatest percentage of our country's population today. At least if we estimate that the population of Nigeria is over 200 million now, and with iota of doubt and argument, the youth will occupy at least 85% now. I cannot count myself as a youth any longer. Go by the statistics of other world nations concerning what are the age brackets of who a youth to be. I'm privileged to have been in what the youth call us old school. And because of that old school training that we had, we don't get involved in crime. If I tell you that I'm 61 and above now, you will not agree. By the grace of God, and all these things that make one to live healthy, as was said earlier, is avoidance of this unnecessary lifestyle that is pushing our children into involving in crime. And so, if youths are embraced, they know the terrain of their communities, they know they have friends, they are accessible to so many means of getting information that, in collaboration with the established, legalized security operatives in Nigeria, information will be sourced, processed, and prompt actions and intervention will be taken. And so, just as the last person that spoke, the young farmer, yes, I will want to collaborate. When His Excellency, former governor of Edo State, Adams Oshomole, was once asked by pressmen or journalists that what is the secret of the peace that returned that time to Edo State? And in his casual way of talking, he told them, if you engage the youths in the daytime, they must sleep in the night. Yeah. That was the answer. So, what are we saying now? We have so many young persons carrying good classes of degrees, good certificates, good profession, yet there's no employment, because employment has been turned into a hereditary process. The father is leaving, is replacing it with a son. The mother is leaving, is replacing. The uncle is leaving, is replacing. And it is until when this hereditary process of employment is put aside and fairness is returned, then crime will automatically come to its barest minimum. We are not saying that there are no crimes in America. There are crimes in Europe. But we are talking about the percentage, which is not in Europe. It's not more than 5%. If you go to the US, it's not even up to 3%. But they exist. But because of the nature of their governance, which we are richly endowed in this country. In fact, one white man told me that when he came to Nigeria, he was shocked. I invited him down, he came to see me. And he was shocked that he has been eating beef for a long time. He has never seen how the cow or the bull is walked to the abattoir and slaughtered. You always buy it in departmental shop, frozen and so on and so forth. So, what are we saying? This country is so blessed. Another white man told me last week that the whole of Kefi in Nasarawa State is sitting on gold that they don't want to tell us. The whole of Nasarawa local government of Nasarawa state is sitting on Tantalite. And when you begin to go to Zamfara state and so many other places, we can engage the youth that they will sleep in the day, in the night, and you and I that will have our peace at our old age to sleep in the night also. So this is a task for us that by the next dispensation, we are going to 2023 by the grace of God. Those that God will bring them into leadership position, thank God we have the representative of our Excellency from Kano that is here to sell this idea. Harmonize your manifesto. See how the youths will be brought in. It is only in this country that if one doesn't win an election, he goes away with his manifesto. He becomes an enemy to the winning party. There will be no synergy where they will harness their manifesto and see which to implement and see if you were to be elected, what you have done for that country, the person will carry it along in his manifesto and implement it for the progress of the nation. And so I will not tax you by reading this paper, and you can go about it, and I promise to send it to the soft copy. You see the intelligent gathering methods is elaborated there, and the techniques of gathering this intelligence. In other words, intelligent gathering is how do you get information that will lead to minimizing crime or that will assist the law enforcement agents to take proactive measures to curb crime out of that society, so whereby life and property will be protected. That's that. And these techniques, in all that I've written, it centers on the youth. It centers on the youth. They are very energetic. They can easily take risk without recourse, because most of them, in fact, these days, how on earth, if not because of the social malady or decadence that had entered our country, the role of our religious fathers are no longer yielding results. That a 21-year-old child, I call him a child, will kill his mother because one ritualist told him if he does that he will be rich. At 21, what do you know about money? Do you even know how to spend money? The value of money? So, in as much as we are blaming every time the police, let me ask a question. Is the policeman, doesn't he have a wife? Doesn't he have a children? Yes. Oh, doesn't he have life? Yes. So, where are the police? Where are the army? Where are the soldiers? Where are the this? They also have life. They also want to enjoy life. You cannot make life ungovernable. And then you begin to call for the police. You call for the army. Or you call for the navy. And so many other enforcement agencies. So, our law enforcement, our religious fathers should help the government also in preaching this. Even though every Friday they preach at the mosque, every Sunday they preach at the mosque, that is not enough. Then we that are parents, we should lay good examples to our children, and let us be monitors of our children. I have a colleague that his son went to the university to read medicine. He was busy, happy, telling us his son is reading medicine. Just as Okija here is in Abuja, he allowed his schedules to overtake him. The boy checked into a room. with his AC, with his music set and everything, and was sleeping for 5 good years and couldn't come out with any certificate. And he was reporting to me. I said, it's not the fault of your son, it's your fault. Have you ever taken a surprise visit to that place to check him? You are always too busy. And he too is always too free. Oh yes, no monitoring. And that was how he derailed. That was how he derailed. So we the parents too, we owe a great responsibility in shaping the youths, in telling them the right thing to do, and in telling them how to cooperate with the intelligence security personnel, in furnishing them information. And also, the security personnel, you should also have why, it's not in my paper, why people fear to supply information is because you easily divulge their identities. Look at the case that happened here in Abuja sometimes, but I will not go into details, because the source of information was divulged. So how do we protect our informants? We should look at the protection of our informants to be key. The youth might be willing, but their protection also matters. I think I even left a question at the end that the next conference, if this organization will still is to look at the protection of the youth in subsequent conferences as regards their roles in supplying information. And most of the authorities consulted in this book here are highly acknowledged and well cited. And so, as you read, and I'll still send the soft copy, you will be able to understand that the youths, that you that are here, this day is for you. I pray that you have the paper so that you know what you owe your country. Look at the ages of people like General Yakubu Gowon when they were head of state. People like the General Muhammad, Murtaza Rahmat Muhammad, and our earliest freedom fighters, our political fathers, people like Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. At what age, if they had involved themselves in criminality, would they have fought for independence for us? They could, they shouldn't. So then I begin to, even I used to challenge my students. Youths, who told you that the children of President Muhammadu Buhari are better than you? Who told you? It's because you have not emulated that challenge. Opportunities might not be the same. But if you tell yourself that even though my father is not a governor, the children of governors have the same head that I have, they have the same brain that I have, I will also behave and do well with them. I think we will go a long way to save this country from serious embarrassment, because the next generation is yours, and if you don't protect it, then your children will ask you questions. Thank you very much.
As you are preparing for safety of this country now, you are preparing yourself for tomorrow so that you can sleep. Some of us didn't prepare very well. That's why we are not sleeping today. And so if you start the preparation today, the next 15 to 20 years or 30 years, you will sleep. So we have failed. And because we have failed, that's why you have up to 10 issues of security, kidnapping, banditry, all manner of names. If you name them, there are more than 10 aspects of security in one single country.
can't continue like this. So I want to congratulate you for putting this together, and want to also congratulate the young man who said he is the one that is behind, this scene. Having noted this, sir, permit me to say that Action Democratic Party is one of the 18 parties registered in Nigeria, and our logo is the book. Our logo is the book, and so we are ready to educate all Nigerians. Nobody will be left out. And with education, the 10 items of security breaches in the country will be solved. They have just sent me a note, so I will not begin to speak much more. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله على نبي الكريم. The chairman, board of trustees, may I seek your indulgence and that of all the high table to stand on existing protocol. My name is Comrade Aminu Abdusalam Gorzo, Deputy Gubernatorial Candidate of the NNPP in Kano State, representing His Excellency, the great commander of the Conyssa movement, Engineer Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. I am here on his behalf, on his instructions, to convey his goodwill message to this August gathering and to this very important organization, Conyssa. I am here to express his total solidarity with these and similar organizations nationwide that are craving and working very hard for the unity, peace, and progress of this nation. Permit me to say that, as you have rightly acknowledged, he is the national leader of the New Nigeria People's Party and the presidential candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party. At the same time, he is the supreme commander of the Conyssa movement nationwide. As you all know, Conyssa movement is about the youth and for the youth, and totally so. Engineer Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso has identified with the youth totally and solidly. That can be seen from his antecedents. When he was in government, he has done so much, such that I don't think when he was in government, and up to this time, I have not seen one single governor that has identified and worked and do so much for the youth in terms of education, in terms of empowerment, in terms of so many things, like Engineer Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso has done. So whenever people are talking about empowering the youth, getting the youth on board, getting the youth involved, I just look at it as we have a story. We have a very good story to tell from experience of what we have done. That is what Engineer Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso has been able to achieve in terms of empowering the youth. So many training centers were established, skill acquisition centers, 26 of them were established in Kano, covering various fields and segments of our society. He has done so much in the educational sector, such that he established 2 state-owned universities. He has been sending the youth to various countries to acquire education, to develop themselves, so that they can come back and assist in developing this country. Over 3,000 Kano State students were sent to various universities across the world to acquire education, first degrees, second degrees, third degrees, and they did it and come back with flying and very encouraging colors. They are now busy giving their contribution, contributing their own quota in developing this country, in uniting this country, in bringing peace to this country. So I would like to, because of time, say that Engineer Rabi Musa Konkoso is already on his feet, doing so much for the youth, and we are asking all other people at his level to copy and emulate and resolve to work for the Nigerian youth, to develop the Nigerian youth, to give a sense of belonging, to give a sense of pride to the Nigerian youth, so that we can all come together, put our hands together, and work to develop and unite this country. As for me, I am standing here for him. On personal note, I would like to agree with the first speakers that built the youth, built a nation. Somebody was quoting Adams of Shimole, saying that you engage the youth in the day, they will have to rest in the night. I was a local government chairman when I was 35 years old. And we experimented it, and it worked very well. We had some problems, security problems here and there in the local government, local theft, criminalities, a lot of criminalities in the local government. We set out and plan how we are going to engage the youth. We started recruitment. We recruited no less than 750 youths, sent them to the police. That was when the police recruitment exercise was going on during Obasanjo's regime. It was a weekly affair, and we make it a point of duty that we will do whatever it takes to ensure that our youth are properly guided so that they can secure employment in the Nigerian police force. When we are done with that, we also embark on mass recruitment for teachers for our primary schools and secondary schools. And we recruited around the same number in the local government. Before you know it, before you understand what is happening, crime rate has gone drastically down. And it was down for over 4 years. Even when I left, it took time before these small crimes started rearing their ugly heads again. That means when you engage the youth, when you give them something to do, when you get them something doing, you will certainly have peace. And they will be able to contribute their own quota to the development of their communities, their local governments, their state, and the nation at large. So I'm urging all politicians to be very serious with this issue of creating employment, creating opportunities. After the recruitment of the teachers, we also decided to send a lot of our youth to skill acquisition centers to finance their training, to give them little capital to start up their businesses. A lot of them are now employers of labor. They are not waiting for anybody to employ them. So when we concentrate on doing this, before you know it, before any long time, you will see that we will start having peace in our country and understanding. I will congratulate Conyssa for what I have seen them doing. Even I have read some, is it pledges or what? That they are out to ensure that the youth are Nigerian youth. You are Nigerian youth, not a Yoruba, not a Hausa, not a Nufiman, not an Igbo, not a Christian, not a Muslim. Look at yourselves more as Nigerian youth, having common problems across the nation. What you are suffering from is the same thing that the Sokoto man is suffering from. It's the same thing that the Port Harcourt youth is suffering from. It's the same thing in Lagos, it's the same thing in Borno. So we should all unite to ensure that we have what? We have good leadership in place. This is democracy. And we have to exercise our rights and do it in such a way that we ensure that we have done justice to ourselves. Look for the good caliber of people to lead us from local government to state to the federal government. Let us not make any mistake. Let us not be too sentimental on anything. Let's do away with sentiments and look for the right caliber of people, the right candidates who have done it, who are seen to be, who are capable of doing this again. Not stories. I thank you very much for your time.
I have the singular honor to decorate you as an ambassador.
Have the highest percentage of the population of the country. Not only that, the youth are the most vibrant and most productive group in the nation's population. So the youth hold a lot of occupy a very important position in the life of the country. And as the saying goes, build the nation, build the youth, build the nation. So anything that has anything to do with the nation, it has everything to do with the youth. And the youth has everything to do with whatever has anything to do with the country. As such, the issue of security is paramount, is very important, and it affects the largest segment, the largest percentage of the population, that is the youth. Okay. So if the youth are offering solutions, or rising up to the occasion to contribute their own quota in solving the problems of security in the country, certainly that should be appreciated, that should be accepted, that should be encouraged. Security policy and intelligence gathering. Yeah, Kano State is in a place where virtually all the states in the country are. Kano State is not a different state. It's not a part of the country. It is part of the country. So whatever problems we have, community policy, effectiveness of community policy, it's the same. So what we are urging the security agencies in the country is to embrace local initiatives like this of Conyssa and that of National Peace Corps, and that category of groups and associations that are out to contribute their own quota with a private initiative to help and assist in finding solutions to our security problems.
Intelligence gathering from this perspective is something that is very important and very key at this critical point in time that Nigeria is passing through serious security challenges. Intelligence gathering has to do with getting local information that could help security agencies to cope incidents before it actually escalates to crisis and to riots that will not put the community into serious unrest. Intelligence gathering in the time past, we see DSSS coming to communities in disguise of being shoemakers, in disguise of being petty traders, and they get whatever information they need to get at their own disposal, and they carry out every other thing they need to carry out to make sure that such an occurrence that would have put the community into unrest is curbed. We discovered that our security agencies, I want to basically build on the Nigerian police. The Conyssa, as an umbrella body of Nigerian youth on security and safety affairs, the Nigerian police has not embraced it holistically. All our effort to make them see reasons why the Nigerian youth must key into the dream and drive of a safe country has been abortive. The community policing stakeholders conferences, seminar they are doing from one place to another, we are not fully carried along. Even when we agitated, I personally visited the CP community policing. We also sent letter to the IG, and up till now we never get to respond, and they are not represented in this program. So we are saying that the police should see reasons to keep more holistically in the activities of Conyssa that have to do with campaign against characters and attitudes that could lead into chaos. And again, that the youth are the ones that perpetrate more of crime. They have good skills and potentials. Because these skills are not holistically made use of, that is why they are diverting it into the negative way. So when the youth are seen as part of government, as part of policy and decision making, they will work effectively. So instead of them using the knowledge in the negative form, they will use it in the positive form. And we're also using this moment to also appreciate the Nigerian Army, who has given us a very good hand of fellowship. We also appreciate the road safety, the EFCC, and other agencies that has always responded to us. But we are saying this here today, that Conyssa being the umbrella body of Nigerian youth, looking into security and safety, the security agencies of the government must, in all ramifications, collaborate with us to see that our community live in effective peace and unity. Thank you.
What is your organization all about?
Conyssa is all about safety of the youth. It's all about the unity of this country. Our parents, our leaders who are leading us today, they have enjoyed that unity in the past. So ethnicity, religion must not be brought on board in the name of politics to divide us. Who are those preaching this? Who are those instigating this? They are our uncles in leadership, instigating the youth to understand that we are divided by religion, we are divided by ethnicity. We will not accept, we will not agree. And that is why all the youth leaders in this country, just like you can see in this program, critical youth leaders across the country converge here to discuss way forward and see that all of us are involved in this issue of safeguarding and sustaining the unity of this country. And Conyssa is hell-bent to see that Nigeria is not divided. We have a peaceful 2023 election and see that the country that we dream of is actually actualized.
All right, sir. The youth constitute the higher percentage of the country's population. So how can they provide a solution to the insecurity in the country?
Yes, we have more than 1 million youth organizations in this country. The question is this: has the government ever, for once, harmonized the potentials, the visions, the mission of this organization together, bring them on a round table, and ask what do they have to offer? Has the government, for once, look inward to what this youth organization could offer and see the areas of collaboration? It has always been on paper. It has always been on talk. It has never, for once, been in action and in practice. On that note, we are saying, because Conyssa stands for peace, stands for unity, and stands for the safety of the youth, I tell you today that most of the youth who did not believe in the security agencies of this country today were because of what they have passed through in the hands of security agencies, especially Nigerian police. Unlawful arrest, unlawful extortion, unlawful detention of the youth. These people became hardened so much that they no more believe in the security agencies of the country anymore. And we are saying that with our strength, with our potentials, with our skills, we have a lot we can offer. If the government can give us a listening ear, we have a position paper we've submitted to the community policing department before now. When the retired DIG Bala Sanchi was still in service, he was the AIG community policing then. So we are now saying that with our strength, there is no community in this country that we don't have youth leaders. These youth leaders can control their fellow youth in those states. But the government should give us enabling environment and grant to actually execute this. If they give us that enabling grant, we will do more, we will do better. Because this youth can listen to us because they are of our generation. This youth can listen to us because they are our peers. We are always together, but we are not always with the elders. The elders has their classes. They have those they flog with. But the youth also have their own classes they flog with. So give us the enabling environment to engage our fellow youth. Empower us to do so. Support us to do so. That is the only thing we are requesting from the government. And that is why we are here today.